Well, hello. Hi. How you doing there, Ralph?
Hello, people tuning into the stream or about to tune in. Welcome to Ancapistani Lounge number 26. Got returning guests, Revan and Crow, and got new guests, three in one actually. Roppy and her two or three friends. It sounds like quite a party on her end. So,
We're like
Ooh,
the on body wash, shampoo, and conditioner. Oh.
oh, so it's like a trio. The trio yeah.
Shampoo.
Yeah. So
praise Allah.
what are your friends' names?
We're the center trio.
There's Vicky and Salsa.
I also go by a spoon.
Hi.
It's good. You can call me Eric.
Yeah, so welcome to stream. It's gonna be a good time. I got
Popcorn.
some prime time reading. I got
Does it smell?
have any of you heard of the novel The Fifth Wave?
No.
No? Okay, well I might as well summarize a bit. I guess it's a good time to do some rehashing.
It's fine.
Yeah, so this is overall the genre is like a science fiction dystopian novel. Oh cool, voluntarist consumer is here. Yay. Well, back to what I'm about to say here. Um yeah, so this novel um an alien invasion has happened and there's like the destruction of the human race in like different waves. Like the first one is people struggling to survive of first of a massive EMP, electromagnetic pulse. A lot of cars die and oh, Corey. Okay. Corey, who will be joining us, he says he got off work.
Then we'll get the theme song.
Yeah.
Nigga.
We're in the theme song.
Yeah. So that's the first wave, and the second wave that's yet to be revealed. The one of the main characters is this teenager named Cassie named after the star constellation Cassiopeia. We got one more guest here. Yep. So it's the first part of this book is in her point of view, and she's pretty much on her own. Her father. It's been revealed in early chapters that her father has been killed, has been dead, and she has all this stuff with her, including a couple of guns, some water, some books, her little brother's stuffed teddy bear, and a bunch of other stuff that she uses to get by. Oh, Almond Rose, hello. Have I seen your source on Catalonia? No, not yet, and we're not going to talk about Catalonia tonight. Sorry. Yeah, so continuing on, Cassie in she in like chapter 4, she finds she's in an abandoned gas station pit stop, and she found this soldier, a wounded soldier, not much younger than she is, all bloodied up, and she wanted him to show his other hand, which was covering his stomach, since it was so bloody, and he reluctantly held out his hand. He held like a crucifix necklace in there, but Cassie didn't. She ended up shooting him anyway because the paranoia was just too high. The adrenaline was just too high in her system.
Ooh.
Yeah. And she never knew for sure if he was a friend or foe because she didn't give him a chance. Koi Monster is here. Hi.
Oh. Wait, is Koi going to be
Koi, you gonna join us?
chat?
Corey is in the house.
Koi,
Jeez.
you gonna join us in the call? Or just gonna hang out and chat for tonight?
Hmm.
Okay.
All right. All right.
Yeah, so before I set up the early links for the hangout call, Crow brought up something very interesting. Do you want to share?
Okay, let's see if I remember right. So the way that this book is set up, it kind of is reminiscent of somebody who believes in the ideas of either minarchism or potentially anarchism. So this writer could be either minarchist or anarchist, seeing that the writer in question has a particular disdain for government.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, it does point out the inefficiency of the government in the story.
Yeah, like the massive failure of government to step in and do something for the people that are just that lost their power during like the first wave. The second and so forth have yet to be revealed in the future chapters, but from the very beginning, ever since like the alien mothership has arrived, um, well, nothing the almighty state that the people were counting on, they did not do anything.
Yeah, right from the beginning, it failed. The state failed them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, now that doesn't sound like something that a statist would write, now would it?
Yeah, a person that holds a whole lot of faith in the government would not write a novel like this. Yep. It's most likely the author, Rick Yancey, is most likely someone who has, at the very least, been disenfranchised with what he had been taught ever since before he could talk at school and watching on the news and so on and so forth. Hi, Mick Toast. And hi, Dylan. Welcome.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yep. Welcome to Ancapistani Lounge. Yes, so yeah, it's very interesting that right off the bat we know that the author Rick Yancey, who wrote this very interesting, very exciting novel, is someone who is has been in the very least disenfranchised about government and what he he must have, he was taught in school or something like that.
Oh, and a returning guest has arrived.
Yay, Madeline's here.
Yeah, I know, right?
We're gonna have a full house. Yay.
maybe, because as soon as the guys at my place finish up, I've still got to meet up with crap. Why am I forgetting his name? Can you tell I'm tired? So yeah, I got to meet up with Heretic and talk to him about that thing. And
an important talk with our friend
yep.
Heretic.
Yep. And then I've also got to deal with a special project over at the place where I work. So
Well, I hope.
being paid salary is nice.
Yeah, that's always good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I hope the talk with Heretic goes well.
Yep. That's in
so we
about
got,
40 minutes.
A few new people in the stream. Roppy and her two friends in the background, Vicky and Salsa.
Do I need chips?
Only Vicky gets chips. I get chips.
Well, if I absolutely need to, I could ground some corn to make some tortilla chips, maybe.
Yep, that's a resident primitivist.
Why does everything sound so niggerish right now?
Maybe because green niggerish is here? Huh?
No.
Yes,
Private joke.
McToast, there's a movie, and I will show that off stream much later on after the going over the whole book.
Don't you want to get copyright struck?
Yeah,
No,
come on.
Come on, what are you waiting for? Like, my God.
Yeah, let's go for it. It sounds like fun. Okay, so I have a strong desire for a home and your family interests come first. And you will be awarded with some great honor. Fortune cookies. Telling me my fortune.
You're playing some niggerish game.
Yep, Koi Monster coming, yay.
I gave her the link in YouTube, in the YouTube chat.
Nice.
Here we are.
Koi monster.
No.
Five.
Not a good idea to put the link in the YouTube chat. Not a good idea.
Yeah, we're good.
I mean, I'm talking about
The private,
not that
the
YouTube
DM
chat, the
chat.
private one. Yeah, the DM chat.
Oh, phew. Good. Do not make this.
Yeah,
just don't ever make the
that's
same
what
mistake I
I'm
made.
not stupid. I know the internet. I know the internet. Come on.
Yeah.
Revin knows the way of the internet. I will guide you.
You don't know the way.
I do
Okay,
know
I
the
know the
way.
way.
Now stop it or I'll use lightning in your face.
The way is the way.
I'll friggin'
This way
fire
is the
lightning.
way.
Do no do way.
I need to friggin' use my purple force lightning on you faggots. I'll use purple force lightning on you faggots. You're a bunch of faggots, you know that? Friggin' faggots.
Yeah.
Well, this faggot knows how to fight. Oh, speaking
Oh,
of,
yeah,
so today,
compared to me, full friggin' shit. You know nothing compared to me.
Fight my gay tit.
so today, I'm not going to point out everything, but basically, is the camera working? The hell, I can't
Oh,
tell.
look at that! You doxed your arm.
There we go.
You doxed
So-
you doxed your thermostat. That thermostat lives matter, dude.
I know. I'm a thermo-racist, or fuck it. So when you see how when I flex, you have the tendon moving right there. Well, there's a nerve cluster right there.
Ow.
What the hell are they doing? Anyway,
Have the ingredients.
God damn it.
Hmm.
Oh well, I docked my face.
Oh,
God damn, I
good
gotta
job,
shave.
nigger. You're smart.
Just the corner.
Yeah, well, fuck it. I don't care. Anybody can. Well, here's why I don't care. So anyway, there's a nerve cluster in that area. If you touch it while the person is clenching their fist, it sends a shock up and down their arm. If you hit it, it swells up, and then they can't use their hand.
Ooh, ouch.
And I did that with I didn't hit it. I just poked it, and just trolled the hell out of my friend today, one of my coworkers.
Ooh.
And then when she was at her car waiting for it to warm up, I pretended like I was walking back inside, and then basically crept up behind her and yelled through the half-open window, just like. I've never seen somebody jump so goddamn hard.
Why didn't you say just surprise, motherfucker, or something like that?
Not as funny.
Oh, come on, it is funny. If you yell it loud, you're just like, surprise, motherfucker, or something like that.
Well, it is in a populated area. Best not to do that if I don't want to get shot. I mean, I do live in a pro-gun state, so. Which, hell yeah,
But I doubt
by the way.
anyone will shoot you for saying surprise, motherfucker.
Exactly. Surprise, motherfucker! Give me your motherfucking money, bitch.
Mm.
I don't think any. I don't. You don't have to say money, bitch. That'll get you shot, but whatever.
I gotta go 100%. Do it all.
Oh,
Alright.
that's dumb,
Mm.
dummy.
Yep. So, in the last stream on Monday night, we stopped at the end of chapter 5.
Stopped at Niggerland. I don't know.
Ha!
In Niggerland, anything can happen. Oh, by the way,
I
YouTube.
think
By
they're
the way,
gone.
I'm a nigger, so I'm allowed to say it. I'm a nigger. Autistic nigger, to be more specific, but I am a nigger. Yes.
Oh, they're gone. Okay.
Okay, Revan.
Mm.
All right, I'm about to start. Everyone ready?
Go
Yep.
right on ahead.
Do
You gotta
it.
leave soon, though.
Yeah. Wish
Fraud,
I had
motherfucker, do it.
popcorn.
Okay. Chapter 6. Still in Cassie's point of view. I debated whether to travel by day or night for a long time. Darkness is best if you're worried about them, but daylight is preferable if you want to spot a drone before it spots you. The drones showed up at the tag end of the third wave, cigar-shaped, gray, dull gray in color, gliding swiftly and silently thousands of feet up. Sometimes they streak across the sky without stopping. Sometimes they circle overhead like buzzers. They can turn on a dime and come to a sudden stop, from Mach 2 to 0 in less than a second. That's how we knew the drones weren't ours. We knew they were unmanned or unothered because one of them crashed a couple of miles from our refugee camp. A thwump. When it broke the sound barrier, an ear-piercing shriek as it rocketed to Earth, the ground shuddering under our feet when it plowed into a fallow cornfield. A recon team hiked to the crash site to check it out. Okay, it wasn't really a team, just Dad and Hutchfield, the guy in charge of the camp. They came back to report the thing was empty. Were they sure? Maybe the pilot bailed before impact. Dad said it was packed with instruments. There wasn't any room for a pilot. Unless they're 2 inches tall. That got a big laugh. Somehow it made the horror less horrible, thinking of the others as being 2-inch borrower types. I opted to travel by day. I could keep one eye on the sky and another on the ground. What I ended up doing is rocking my head up and down, side to side, then up again, like some groupie at a rock concert until I was dizzy and a little sick to my stomach. Plus there are other things at night to worry about besides drones. Wild dogs, coyotes, bears, and wolves coming down from Canada, maybe even an escaped lion or tiger from the zoo. I know, there's a Wizard of Oz joke buried in there, shoot me. And though it wouldn't be much better, I do think I'd have a better chance against one of them in the daylight, or even against one of my own, if I'm not the last one. What if I stumble onto another survivor who decides the best course of action is to go all crucifix soldier on anyone they come across? That brings up the problem of my best course of action. Do I shoot on sight? Do I wait for them to make the first move and risk it being a deadly one? I wonder, not for the first time, why the hell we didn't come up with some kind of code or secret handshake or something before they showed up. Something that would identify us as the good guys. We had no way of knowing they would show up, but we were pretty sure something would sooner or later. It's hard to plan for what comes next when what comes next is not something you planned for. Try to spot them first, I decided. Take cover. No showdowns. No more crucifix soldiers. The day is bright and windless, but cold. The sky cloudless. Walking along, bobbing my head up and down, swinging it from side to side. Backpack popping against one shoulder blade, the rifle against the other. Walking on the outside edge of the median that separates the southbound from the northbound lanes, stopping every few strides to whip around and scan the terrain behind me. An hour, 2, and I've traveled no more than a mile. The creepiest thing, creepier than the abandoned cars and the snarl of crumpled metal and the broken glass sparkling in the October sunlight, creepier than all the trash and discarded crap littering the median, most of it hidden by the knee-high grass, so the strip of land looks empty, covered in boils. The creepiest thing is the silence. The hum is gone. You remember the hum. Unless you grew up on top of a mountain or lived in a cave your whole life, the hum was always around you. That's what life was. It was the sea we swam in, the constant sound of all the things we built to make life easy and a little less boring. The mechanical song, the electronic symphony, the hum of all our things and all of us gone. This is the sound of the earth before we conquered it. Sometimes in my tent, late at night, I think I can hear the stars scraping across the sky. That's how quiet it is. After a while, it's almost more than I can stand. I want to scream at the top of my lungs. I want to sing, shout, stamp my feet, clap my hands, anything to declare my presence. My conversation with the soldier had been the first words I'd said aloud in weeks. The hum died on the 10th day after the arrival. I was sitting in third period, texting Lisbeth, the last text I will ever send. I don't remember exactly what it said. 11 a.m., a warm, sunny day in early spring, a day for doodling and dreaming and wishing you were anywhere but Miss Paulson's calculus class. The first wave rolled in without much fanfare. It wasn't dramatic. There was no shock at all. The lights just winked out. Mrs. Paulson's overhead died. The screen on my phone went black. Somebody in the back of the room squealed. Classic. It doesn't matter what time of day it happens. The power goes out and somebody yelps like the building's collapsing. Miss Paulson told us to stay in our seats. That's the other thing people do when the power goes out. They jump up to what? It's weird. We're so used to electricity. When it's gone, we don't know what to do. So we jump up or squeal or start jabbering like idiots. We panic. It's like someone cut off our oxygen. The arrival had made it worse, though. 10 days on pins and needles, waiting for something to happen while nothing is happening makes you jumpy. So when they pulled the plug on us, we freaked out a little more than normal. Everybody started talking at once. When I announced that my phone had died, out came everyone's dead phone. Neil Krosky, who was sitting in the back of the room listening to his iPod while Miss Paulson lectured, pulled the buds from his ears and wondered aloud why the music had died. The next thing you do when the plug's pulled after panicking is run to the nearest window. You don't know why exactly. It's that better see what's going on feeling. The world works from the outside in. So if the lights go off, you look outside. And Miss Paulson randomly moving around the mob, milling in front of the windows. Quiet! Back to your seats. I'm sure there'll be an announcement. There was one, about a minute later. Not over the intercom, though, and not from Mr. Fulks, the vice principal. It came from the sky, from them, in the form of a 727 tumbling end over into earth from 10,000 feet until it disappeared behind a line of trees and exploded, sending up a fireball that reminded me of the mushroom cloud of an atomic blast. Hey, Earthlings, let's get this party started, You'd think seeing something like that would send us diving under our desks. It didn't. We crowded against the window and scanned the cloudless sky for the flying saucer that must have taken the plane down. It had to be a flying saucer, right? We knew how a top-notch alien invasion was run. Flying saucers zipping through the atmosphere, squadrons of F-16s hot on their heels, surface-to-air missiles and tracers screaming from the bunkers. In an unreal and admittedly sick way, we wanted to see something like that. It would make this a perfectly normal alien invasion. For a half hour, we waited by the windows. Nobody said much. Miss Paulson told us to go back to our seats. We ignored her. 30 minutes into the first wave, and already social order was breaking down. People kept checking their phones. We couldn't connect it. The plane crashing, the lights going on, our phones dying. The clock on the wall with the big hand frozen on the 12, little hand on the 11. Then the door flew open and Mr. Foulkes told us to head over to the gym. I thought that was really smart. Get all of us in one place so the aliens didn't have to waste a lot of ammunition. So we trooped over to the gym and sat in the bleachers in near total darkness while the principal paced back and forth, stopping every now and then to yell at us to be quiet and wait for our parents to get there. What about the students whose cars were at school? Couldn't they leave? Your cars won't work. What? WTF? What does he mean, our cars won't work? An hour passed. Then 2. I sat next to Lisbeth. We didn't talk much, and when we did, we whispered. We weren't afraid of the principal. We were listening. I'm not sure what we were listening for, but it was like that quiet before the clouds open up and thunder smashes down. This could be it, Lisbeth whispered. She rubbed her nose nervously, dug her lacquered nails into her dyed blonde hair, tapped her foot, rolled the pad of her finger over her eyelid. She had just started wearing contacts, and they bugged her constantly. It's definitely something, I whispered back. I mean, this could be it. Like, it, the end. She kept slipping the battery out of her phone and putting it back in. It was better than doing nothing, I guess. She started to cry. I took her phone away and held her hand, looked around. She wasn't the only one crying. Other kids were praying, and others were doing both, crying and praying. The teachers were huddled up by the gym doors, forming a human shield in case the creatures from outer space decided to storm the floor. There's so much I wanted to do, Lisbeth said. I've never even... She choked back a sob. You know? I've got a feeling a lot of is going on right now, I said. Probably right underneath these bleachers. You think? She wiped her cheeks with the palm of her hand. What about you? About, I had no problem with talking about sex. My problem was talking about sex as it related to me. Oh, I know you haven't, God, I'm not talking about that. I thought we were. I'm talking about our lives, Cassie. Jesus, this could be the end of the freaking world, and all you want to do is talk about sex. She pulled her phone out of my hand and fumbled with the battery cover. Which is why you should just tell him, she said, fiddling with the drawstrings of her hoodie. Tell who what? I knew exactly what she meant. I was just buying time. Ben, you should tell him how you feel, how you felt since the 3rd grade. This is a joke, right? I felt my face getting hot. Then you should have sex with him. Lisbeth, shut up. It's the truth. I haven't wanted to have sex with Ben Parrish since the 3rd grade, I whispered. The 3rd grade? I glanced over at her to see if she was really listening. Apparently she wasn't. If I were you, I'd go right up to him and say, I think this is it. This is it, and I'll be damned if I'm going to die in this school gymnasium without ever having sex with you. And then you know what I'd do? What? I was fighting back a laugh, picturing the look on his face. I take him outside to the flower garden and have sex with him. In the flower garden? Or the locker room? She waved her hand around frantically to include the entire school, or maybe the whole world. It doesn't matter where. The locker room smells. I looked 2 rows down at the outline of Ben Parrish's gorgeous head. That kind of thing only happens in the movies, I said. Yeah, totally unrealistic, not like what's happening right now. She was right. It was totally unrealistic. Both scenarios, an alien invasion of the Earth and a Ben Parrish invasion of me. At least you could tell him how you feel, she said, reading my mind. Could, yes. Ever would. Well, and I never did. That was the last time I saw Ben Parrish, sitting in that dark, stuffy gymnasium, home of the Hawks, 2 rows down from me, and only the back part of him. He probably died in the third wave, like almost everybody else, and I never told him how I felt. I could have. He knew who I was. He sat behind me a couple of classes. He probably doesn't remember, but in middle school we rode the same bus, and there was an afternoon when I overheard him talking about his little sister being born the day before, and I turned around and said, "My brother was born last week." And he said, "Really?" Not sarcastic, but like he thought it was a cool coincidence, and for about a month I went around thinking we had this special connection based on babies. Then we were in high school, and he became the star wide receiver for the team, and I became just another girl watching him score from the stands. I would see him in class or in the hallway, and sometimes I had to fight the urge to run up and say to him, "Hi, I'm Cassie, the girl from the bus. Do you remember the babies?" The funny thing is, he probably never would have. Ben Parrish couldn't be satisfied with being the most gorgeous guy in school. Just to torment me with his perfection, he also insisted on being one of the smartest. And have I mentioned he was kind to small animals and children? His little sister was on the sidelines at every game, and when we took the district title, Ben ran straight to the sidelines, hoisted her onto his shoulders, and led the parade around the track with her, waving to the crowd like a homecoming queen. Oh, and one more thing, his killer smile. Don't get me started. After another hour in the dark and stuffy gym, I saw my dad appear in the doorway. He gave a little wave, like he showed up at my school every day to take me home after alien attacks. I hugged Elizabeth and told her I'd call as soon as the phone started working again. I was still practicing pre-invasion thinking. You know, the power goes out, but it always comes back on. So I just gave her a hug, and I don't remember telling her that I loved her. We went outside, and I said, "Where's the car?" And Dad said the car wasn't working. No cars were working. The streets were littered with stalled-out cars and buses and motorcycles and trucks. Smash-ups and clusters of wrecks on every block. Cars folded around light poles and sticking out of buildings. A lot of people were trapped when the EMP hit. The automatic locks on the doors didn't work, and they had to break out of their own cars or sit there and wait for someone to rescue them. The injured people who could still move crawled out onto the roadside and sidewalks to wait for the paramedics, but no paramedics came because the ambulances and fire trucks and the cop cars didn't work either. Everything that ran on batteries or electricity had an engine. Died at 11 a.m. Dad walked as he talked, keeping a tight grip on my wrist like he was afraid something might swoop down out of the sky and snatch me away. Nothing's working. No electricity, no phones, no plumbing. We saw a plane crash. He nodded. I'm sure that they all did. Anything and everything in the sky when it hit. Fighter jets, helicopters, troop transporters. When what hit? EMP, he said. Electromagnetic pulse. Generate one large enough and you knock out the entire grid. Power, communications, transportation, anything that flies or drives is zapped out. It was a mile and a half from my school to our house. The longest mile and a half I've ever walked. It felt as if a curtain had fallen over everything, a curtain painted to look exactly what it was hiding. There were glimpses, though, little peeks behind the curtain that told you something had gone very wrong, like all the people standing on their front porches holding their dead phones, looking up at the sky, or bending over the open hoods of their cars, fiddling with wires, because that's what you do when your car dies. You fiddle with wires. But that's okay. But it's okay, he said, squeezing my wrist. It's okay. There's a good chance our backup systems weren't crippled, and I'm sure the government has a contingency plan, protected bases, that sort of thing. And how does pulling our plug fit into their plan to help us along in the next stage of our evolution, Dad? I regretted the words the instant I said them, but I was freaking out. He didn't take it the wrong way. He looked at me and smiled reassuringly and said, "Everything's going to be okay." Because that's what I wanted him to say, and it's what he wanted to say, and that's what you do when the curtain is falling. You give the line that the audience wants to hear.
Sounds niggerish.
I knew you were going to say that.
So that's a description of what happened when the first wave hit the EMP.
That'd be one powerful magnetic pulse, that.
Oh, yeah.
Electromagnetic.
Some of the jokes in the comments. McToast, the 9/11 joke, jet fuel can't melt steel beams.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
I can't go wrong with that one.
Don't you know the Jews did 9/11?
Young adult novel like Twilight, a poorly written one. It is a
Hey, Wrestling Watch here, man. I'm trying to help you, buddy. The Jews did 9/11. There you go. Trying to help. The Jews did 9/11. The Jews did.
No, the lizard people.
lizard people.
Well, the Jewish lizard people, they're right. The Jewish lizards are the most Darth Plagueis.
Darth Plagueis did 9/11.
Yes, because he wanted so many people to bring back from the dead. He wanted plenty of bodies to do his experiments with.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my god, why is my shoulder being such a nigger?
Good question.
My shoulder's hurting me and being such a bitch. My gosh.
My god.
Yeah, so notice how as again, government doesn't step in.
Oof.
Governments.
Imagine
Government's always so powerful, you guys. They're always have the incentive to protect us. They're like our mom and dad.
Like your mom and dad always have the incentive to protect you.
Well, actually, and even your mom and dad have also evidence for their what property they have and all that stuff. Government doesn't.
So, Roppy, Vicky, and Salsa, what'd you think of the chapter?
I think it's similar to my angry review. It's nigger.
I enjoyed it. I'm not sure what was going on, but it was fine.
Yeah. Well, what happened was, there was like in the present, Cassie was like walking on her own out of the convenience store, in which she didn't mean to kill the crucifix soldier, but she did anyway. And she thinks back to in narration to when everything started going wrong, and there was that massive electromagnetic pulse, and that happened during the late morning in school.
Holy fuck, my shoulder's being a nigger right now.
Your shoulder hurts?
Yes. Oh my god, I hope I don't get another migraine again. Fuck.
No.
I hope not either.
Hmm.
Yeah, because that would suck.
That's what usually happens first. My shoulder starts hurting, then I get a fucking migraine. I don't know what that's about.
Mm.
I don't understand it. Don't ask me what the fuck my body is doing. Don't ask me. I don't know.
So,
I'm not a
Boy
professional.
Crow, thoughts on the chapter 6?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, am I some kind of geographist? What am I, some sort of nigger? I don't know. No, right wing watch, buddy. I'm trying to help you. Straw man me, please, baby. Ba-da-ba-da-da-da-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. Mr. Strawman.
Give me a break.
Okay, guys.
Just touch up my hole, for goodness sake.
Bum alley rapists intensify. I don't know.
All right. I guess we're ready to start on the next chapter since no one else has anything to add.
Nigger. It's very niggerish so far. Very niggerish. Especially this part where they want to have sex before
And they were talking about having sex, like,
Oh my
of
God.
course, like, oh, I'm not gonna die a virgin. Typical of teenagers, right? Most of
Yep. Well, it's often typical of
I've never thought of that before dying, but whatever. Don't want to die a virgin.
Well, some teens tend to have that type of thinking.
Don't get me wrong. I thought sex was everything back in the day when I was a teenager, but I never thought that. That's fucking. That's just,
All right, so
sounds like something I'd say if I was 12 or something, but whatever.
chapter 7. Around noon, on my mission to keep my promise, I stopped for a water break and a Slim Jim. Every time I eat a Slim Jim or can of sardines or anything prepackaged, I think, well, there's one less of that in the world. Whittling away the evidence of our having been here one bite at a time. One of these days, I've decided I'm going to work up the nerve to catch a chicken and wring its delicious neck. I would kill for a cheeseburger. Honestly, if I stumbled across someone eating a cheeseburger, I would kill them for it. There are plenty of cows around. I could shoot one and carve it up with my Bowie knife. I'm pretty sure I'd have no problem slaughtering a cow. The hard part would be cooking it. Having a fire, even in daylight, was the surest way to invite them to the cookout. A shadow shoots across the grass a dozen yards in front of me. I jerk my head back, knocking it hard against the side of a Honda Civic I was leaning against while I enjoyed my snack. It wasn't a drone. It was a bird, a seagull of all things, skimming along with barely a flick of its outstretched wings. A shiver of revulsion goes down my spine. I hate birds. I didn't before the arrival. I didn't after the first wave. I didn't after the second wave, which really didn't affect me that much. But after the third wave, I hated them. It wasn't their fault. I knew that. It was like a man in front of a firing squad hating the bullets, but I couldn't help it. Birds suck.
Or the victims of said supposedly school shootings. Sorry, had to.
Well, that was short. I'll just read the next short one. Chapter 8. After 3 days on the road, I've determined that cars are pack animals. They prowl in groups. They die in clumps. Clumps of smash-ups, clumps of stalls. They glimmer in the distance like jewels. And suddenly the clumps stop. The road is empty for miles. There's just me and the asphalt river cutting through a defile of half-naked trees, their leaves crinkled and clinging desperately to their dark branches. There's the road and the naked sky and the tall, brown grass and me. These empty stretches are the worst. Cars provide cover and shelter. I sleep in the undamaged ones. I haven't found a locked one yet. If you can call it sleep. Stale, stuffy air. You can't crack the windows, and leaving the door open is out of the question. The gnaw of hunger and the night thoughts. Alone, alone, alone. And the baddest of the bad night thoughts. I'm no alien drone designer, but if I were going to make one, I'd make sure that its detection device was sensitive enough to pick up a body's heat signature through a car roof. It never failed. The moment I started to drift off, I imagined all four doors flying open and dozens of hands reaching for me, hands attached to arms, attached to whatever they are. And then I'm up, fumbling with my M16, peeking over the back seat, and doing a 360, feeling trapped and more than a little blind behind the fogged-up windows. Dawn comes. I wait for the morning fog to burn off, then sip some water, brush my teeth, double-check my weapons, inventory my supplies, and hit the road again. Look up, look down, look all around. Don't pause at the exits. Water's fine for now. No way am I going anywhere near town unless I have to, for a lot of reasons. You know how you can tell when you're getting close to one? The smell. You can smell a town from miles away. It smells like smoke and raw sewage and death. In the city, it's hard to take 2 steps without stumbling over a corpse. Funny thing, people die in clumps too. I begin to smell Cincinnati about a mile before spotting the exit sign. A thick column of smoke rises lazily toward the cloudless sky. Cincinnati is burning. I'm not surprised. After the third wave, the second most common thing you found in cities after the bodies were fires. A single lightning strike could take out 10 city blocks. There was no one left to put the fires out. My eyes start to water. The stench of Cincinnati makes me gag. I stop long enough to tie a rag around my mouth and nose, and then quicken my pace. I pull the rifle off my shoulder and cradle it as I quick-step. I have a bad feeling about Cincinnati. The old voice inside my head is awake. Hurry, Cassie, hurry. And then, somewhere between exits and 17 and 18, I find the bodies.
Ooh. This is interesting.
Yeah, it is. Should I keep going? Chapter 9?
Oh, excuse me.
Might as well.
Yeah. There are 3 of them. Not in a clump like city folk, but spaced out in the median strip. The first one is an older guy, around my dad's age, I guess, wearing blue jeans and a Bengals warm-up. Face down, arms outstretched, he was shot in the back of the head. The second, about a dozen feet away, is a young woman, a little older than I am, and dressed in a pair of men's pajama pants and a Victoria's Secret tee. A streak of purple in her short, cropped hair, a skull ring on her left index finger, black nail polish, badly chipped, a bullet hole in the back of her head. Another few feet and there's the third. Kid around 11 or 12. Brand new white basketball high tops. Black sweatshirt. Hard to tell what his face used to look like. I leave the kid and go back to the woman. Kneel in the tall brown grass beside her. Touch her pale neck. Still warm. Oh no. No, no, no. I trot back to the first guy. Kneel. Touch the palm of his outstretched hand. Look over at the bloody hole between his ears. Shiny. Still wet. I freeze. Behind me, the road. In front of me, more road. To my right, trees. To my left, more trees. Clumps of cars on the southbound lane. The nearest grouping about 100 feet away. Something tells me to look up. Straight up. A fleck of dull gray against the backdrop of dazzling autumnal blue. Motionless. Hello, Cassie. My name is Mr. Drone. Nice to meet you. I stand up, and when I stand up, the moment I stand up, if I had stayed frozen there a millisecond longer, Mr. Bengals and I would be sporting matching holes. Something slams into my leg, a hot punch just above my knee that knocks me off balance, sending me sprawling backward onto my butt. I didn't hear the shot. There was the cool wind in the grass, and my own hot breath under the rag, and the blood rushing in my ears. That's all there was before the bullet struck. Silencer. That makes sense. Of course they use silencers. And now I have the perfect name for them, silencers, a name that fits the job description. Something takes over when you're facing death. The front part of your brain lets go, gives up control, and to the oldest part of you, the part that takes care of your heartbeat and breathing and the blinking of your eyes, the part nature built first to keep your ass alive, the part that stretches time like a gigantic piece of toffee, making a second seem like an hour and a minute longer than a summer afternoon. I lunged for my rifle. I had dropped the M16 when the round punched home and the ground in front of me explodes, showering me with shredded grass and hunks of dirt and gravel. Okay, forget the M16. I yank the Luger from my waistband and do a sort of running hop or a hopping run toward the closest car. There isn't much pain, although my guess is that we're going to get very intimate later, but I can feel the blood soaking into my jeans by the time I reach the car, an older model Buick sedan. The rear windshield shattered as I dive down. I scoot on my back until I'm all the way under the car. I'm not a big girl by any means, but it's a tight fit. No room to roll over, no way to turn if he shows up on the left side. Cornered. Smart, Cassie. Real smart. Straight as last semester. On a roll. Right. You should have stayed in your little stretch of woods in your little tent with your little books and your cute little mementos. At least when they came for you, there'd be room to run. The minutes spin out. I lie on my back and bleed onto the cold concrete, rolling my head to the right, to the left, raising it a half inch to look past my feet toward the back of the car. Where the hell is he? What's taking so long? Then it hits me. He's using a high-powered sniper rifle. Has to be. Which means he could have been over half a mile away when he shot me. Which also means I have one more time than I first thought. Time to come up with something besides a blubbery, desperate, disjointed prayer. Make him go away. Make him be quit. Let me live. Let him end it. Shaking uncontrollably, I'm sweating. I'm freezing cold. You're going into shock. Think, Cassie. Think. It's what we're made for. It's what got us here. It's the reason I have this car to hide under. We are human. And humans think. They plan. They dream. And then they make the dream real. Make it real, Cassie. Unless he drops down, he won't be able to get me. And when he drops down, when he dips his head to look at me, when he reaches in to grab my ankle and drag me out, no, he's too smart for that. He's going to assume I'm armed. He wouldn't risk it. Not that silencers care whether they live or die. Or do they care? Do silencers know fear? Don't they love life? I've seen enough to prove that. But do they love their own lives more than they love taking someone else's? Time stretches out. A minute's longer than a season. What's taking him so damn long? It's either or world now. Either he's coming to finish it or he isn't. But he has to finish it, doesn't he? Isn't that the reason he's here? Isn't that the whole friggin' point? Either or. Either I run or hop or crawl or roll, or I stay under this car and bleed to death. If I risk escape, it's a turkey shoot. I won't make it 2 feet. If I stay, same result. Only more painful, more fearful, and much, much slower. Black stars blossom and dance in front of my eyes. I can't get enough air into my lungs. I reach up with my left hand and yank the cloth from my face. The cloth. Cassie, you're an idiot. I set the gun down beside me. That's the hardest part, making myself let go of the gun. I lift my leg, slide the rag beneath it. I can't lift my head to see what I'm doing. I stare past the black blossoming stars at the grimy guts of the Buick as I pull the two ends together, cinch them tight as I can, and fumble with the knot. I reach down and explore the wound with my fingertips. It's still bleeding, but a trickle compared to the bubbling gusher I had before tying off the tourniquet. I pick up the gun. Better. My eyesight clears a little, and I don't feel quite so cold. I shift a couple of inches to the left, and I don't like lying in my own blood. Where is he? He's had plenty of time to finish this, unless he is finished. That brings me up short. For a few seconds, I totally forget to breathe. He's not coming. He's not coming because he doesn't need to come. He knows you won't dare come out, and if you don't come out and run, you won't make it. He knows you'll starve or bleed to death or die of dehydration. He knows what you know. Run equals die. Stay equals die. Time for him to move on to the next one. If there is a next one. If I'm not the last one. Come on, Cassie. From selling 7 billion to just 1 in 5 months, you're not the last, and even if you are the last human being on Earth, especially if you are, you can't let it end this way. Trapped under a goddamn Buick, bleeding until all the blood is gone. Is this how humanity waves goodbye? Hell no. Now it's gotten intense, huh? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Yep, I'm here, and yep, it is getting intense.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So, what do you think the silence? What do you think the silencer looks like? Does it look human? Does it look alien?
Let's see. If it can grab, it's probably part machine, part human looking.
So your guess is it could be like a cyborg?
Yeah, a cyborg is my guess.
Maybe
especially if
like
it's in the air. Well, yeah, the thing is up in the air, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
It's not like she could just go up to it and try to break apart its legs.
Yeah.
Sounds niggerish.
You never fail to bring up the niggers.
Well, what do you think, Revan?
I didn't hear the last part because I had to go get another drink.
Oh.
Well, whatever. It's quite interesting. It is quite interesting, your story, though.
Yeah, the book is. Yep, indeed.
Anyway, yeah, that would be something. Yeah, the sex thing, if I was talking to an older teenager or something like that, because I was a 12-year-old or whatever, yeah, that'd be something dumb, I would say. Yep. About not wanting to die a virgin. Yep, that'd be something dumb to say to an older teenager if I was 12.
I am Cancer says in the chat. Okay, so she a virgin and she had an near-death experience, so she'll probably get some in the next chapter.
Oh boy.
Yeah, something I would say if I was something dumb. Yeah, that'd be something dumb I would say as a 12-year-old talking to an older teenager or something.
All right, moving on to chapter 10. The first wave took out 500,000 people. The second wave put that number to shame. In case you don't know, we live on a restless planet. The continents sit on slabs of rock called tectonic plates, and those plates float on a sea of molten lava. They're constantly scraping and rubbing and pushing against one another, creating enormous pressure. Over time, the pressure builds and builds until the plates slip, releasing huge amounts of energy in the form of earthquakes. If one of those quakes happens along one of the fault lines that ring every continent, the shockwave produces a superwave called a tsunami. Over 40% of the world's population lives within 60 miles of a coastline. That's 3 billion people. All the others had to do was make it rain. Take a metal rod twice as tall as the Empire State Building and 3 times as heavy, position it over one of these fault lines, drop it from the upper atmosphere. You don't need any propulsion or guidance system, just let it fall. Thanks to gravity, by the time it reaches the surface, it's traveling 12 miles per second, 20 times faster than a speeding bullet. It hits the surface with a force 1 billion times greater than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Bye-bye, New York. Bye, Sydney. Goodbye, California, Washington, Oregon, Alaska, British Columbia. So long, Eastern Seaboard, Japan, Hong Kong, London, Rome, Rio. Nice to know you. Hope you enjoyed your stay. The first wave was over in seconds. The second wave lasted a little longer, about a day. The third wave, that took a little longer, 12 weeks. 12 weeks to kill, well, Dad figured 97% of those of us unlucky enough to have survived the first 2 waves. 97% of 4 billion? You do the math. That's when the alien empire descended in their flying saucers and started blasting away, right? When the peoples of the earth united under one banner to play David versus Goliath. Our tanks against your ray guns. Bring it on. We weren't that lucky. And they weren't that stupid. How do you waste nearly 4 billion people in 3 months? Birds. How many birds are there in the world? Want to guess? 1 million? 1 billion? How about over 300 billion? That's about 75 birds for each man, woman, and child still alive after the first 2 waves. There are thousands of species of bird on every continent, and birds don't recognize borders. They also crap a lot. They crap 5 or 6 times a day. That's over 1 trillion little missiles raining down on each day, every day. You couldn't invent a more efficient delivery system for a virus that has a 97% kill rate. My father thought they must have taken something like Ebola, Zaire, or genetically altered it. Ebola can't spread through the air, but change a single protein and you can make it airborne like the flu. The virus takes up residence in your lungs. You get a bad cough, fever. Your head starts to hurt bad. You start spitting up little drops of virus-laden blood. The bug moves into your liver, your kidneys, your brain. You're packing 1 billion of them now. You've become a viral bomb, and when you explode, you blast everyone around you with the virus. They call it bleeding out. Like rats fleeing a sinking ship, the virus erupts out of every opening, your mouth, your nose, your ears, your ass, even your eyes. You literally cry tears of blood. We had different names for it: the Red Death or the Blood Plague, Pestilence, the Red Tsunami, the Fourth Horseman, whatever you wanted to call it. After 3 months, 97 out of every 100 people were dead. That's a lot of bloody tears. Time was flowing in reverse. The first wave knocked us back to the 18th century. The next 2 slammed us into the Neolithic. We were hunter-gatherers again, nomads, bottom of the pyramid, but we weren't ready to give up hope. Not yet. There were still enough of us left to fight back. We couldn't take them head on, but we could fight a guerrilla war. We could go all asymmetrical on their alien asses. We had enough guns and ammo and even some transport that survived the first wave. Our militaries had been decimated, but there were still functional units on every continent. There were bunkers and caves and underground bases where we could hide for years. You be America, alien invaders, and we'll be Vietnam. And the others go, yeah, okay, right. We thought they had thrown everything at us, or at least the worst, because it was hard to imagine anything worse than the Red Death. Those of us who survived the third wave, the ones with a natural immunity to the disease, hunkered down and stocked up and waited for the people in charge to tell us what to do.
Of course
We
you
knew.
I said, of course you did.
Yeah, we knew somebody had to be in charge, because occasionally a fighter jet would scream across the sky and we heard what sounded like gun battles in the distance and the rumble of troop carriers just over the horizon. I guess my family was luckier than most. Fourth Horseman rode off with my mom, but Dad, Sammy, and I survived. Dad boasted about our superior genes. That's something you'd normally do, brag on top of an Everest of nearly 7 billion dead people. Dad was just being Dad, trying to put the best spin he could on the eve of human extinction. Most cities and towns were abandoned in the wake of the Red Tsunami. There was no electricity, no plumbing. The shops and stores had long since been looted of anything valuable. Raw sewage was an inch deep on some streets. Fires from summer lightning storms were common. Then there was the problem of the bodies, as in they were everywhere. Houses, shelters, hospitals, apartments, office buildings, schools, churches and synagogues, and warehouses. There's a tipping point when the sheer volume of death overwhelms you. You can't bury or burn the bodies fast enough. That summer of pestilence was brutally hot, and the stench of rotting flesh hung in the air like an invisible, noxious fog. We soaked strips of cloth in perfume and tied them over our mouths and noses. And by the end of the day, the reek had soaked into the material, and all you could do was sit there and gag. Until, funny thing, you get used to it. We waited out the third wave, barricaded inside our house, partly because there was a quarantine, partly because some pretty whacked out people roamed the streets, breaking into houses and setting fires, the whole murder, rape, and pillaging thing, partly because we were scared out of our minds waiting for what might come next. But mostly because Dad didn't want to leave Mom. She was too sick to travel, and he couldn't bring himself to abandon her. She told him to go, leave her behind. She was going to die anyway. It wasn't about her anymore. It was about me and Sammy, about keeping us safe, about the future and hanging on to the hope that tomorrow would be better than today. Dad didn't argue, but he didn't leave her either. He waited for the inevitable, keeping her as comfortable as possible, and looked at maps and made lists and gathered supplies. This was around the time the whole book hoarding, we have to rebuild civilization kick started. On nights when the sky wasn't totally blanketed in smoke, we went into the backyard and took turns with my old telescope, watching the mothership sail majestically across the backdrop of the Milky Way. The stars were brighter now, brilliantly bright, without our man-made lights to dim them. What are they waiting for? I would ask him. I was still expecting, like everybody else, the saucers and the mechanical walkers and the laser cannons. Why don't they just get it over with? And Daddy would shake his head. I don't know, Pumpkin, he would say. Maybe it is over. Maybe the goal isn't to kill all of us, just wean us down to a manageable number. And then what? What do they want? I think the better question is what they need, he said gently, as if he were breaking some really bad news. They're being very careful, you know. Careful? To not damage it more than absolutely necessary. It's the reason they're here, Cassie. They need the Earth, but not us, I whispered. I was about to lose it, again, for about the trillionth time. He put his hand on my shoulder for about the trillionth time and said, well, we had our shot, and we weren't handling our inheritance very well. I bet if we could somehow go back and interview the dinosaurs before the asteroid struck. And that's when I punched him as hard as I could, ran inside. I don't know which is worse, inside or outside. Outside you feel totally exposed, constantly watched, naked beneath the naked sky, but inside it's perpetual twilight, boarded up windows that block out the sun during the day, candles at night. But we're running low on candles. Can't spare more than one per room, and deep shadows lurk in once familiar corners. What is it, Cassie? Sammy, 5, adorable. Big brown teddy bear eyes, clutching the other member of the family with big brown eyes. The stuffed one I now have stowed in the bottom of my backpack. Why are you crying? Seeing my tears got his started. I brushed past him, headed for the room of the 16-year-old human dinosaur, Cassiopeia Sullivanus extinctus. Then I went back to him. I couldn't leave him crying like that. We'd gotten pretty tight since Mom got sick. Nearly every night, bad dreams chased him into my room, and he'd crawl in bed with me and press his face against my chest, and sometimes he forgot and called me Mommy. Did you see them, Cassie? Are they coming? No, kiddo, I said, wiping away his tears. No one's coming. Not yet.
Oofies.
My goodness.
Oofies.
Quite the apocalypse, huh? After the EMP, there's the tsunami, and then the blood plague.
And not to mention the destruction of cities, for crying out loud.
Yeah. And looters. Rioters. No doubt Antifa was there.
Yep.
Still sounds very niggerish. Very, very.
Of course, that's all you have to say.
What does that even mean?
Sounds very niggerish. Niggerish.
That is a good question.
I just have to bother you with that now. Niggerish.
Oh my god.
Well,
I'm gonna
I know
bother
that.
you people now. I'm gonna leave
I
you
know in Canada there is such a thing called niggerish, and that's just, well, what they call black licorice.
Yeah, that's a joke that I made. Yeah.
Yeah. So Roppy and Vicky and Salsa, what do you guys think? You still with us?
I'm here. Yes.
My horrible, terrible swearing did not scare them away.
I think I curse more than you, so it's fine.
Still enjoying the story?
But that's my favorite racial slur.
That's my favorite nigger. That's my favorite racial slur. I don't know. Fuck me, nigger. FMN News Network. Fuck me, nigger. Fuck me, nigger. Fuck me, nigger. I don't want to die a virgin. Fuck me,
your
nigger.
profanity.
That's one hell of a song here. Fuck me, niggers. Fuck me, niggers. I don't want to die a virgin. Fuck me, niggers. Fuck me, niggers. Oh, God.
All right. We're up to chapter 11. That's a short one. How many more until the end of part 1? 12. I'm just taking a look-see through really quick.
Fuck me, niggers. Fuck me, niggers.
Stop that.
Please stop.
Never, nigger.
At least 8 more until the end of part 1. At least 8 more. Probably get more past that, so.
Revenge, stop!
Yes, please stop.
Yes.
Never. I'll never. It's my job to annoy you people. Nigger 2000.
Okay, here's some sad stuff in this next chapter.
No.
Yeah, sad stuff. We gotta make people sad and annoyed. Yes.
Alright, chapter 11.
No.
Mom died on a Tuesday.
Oof.
Dad buried her in the backyard, in the rose bed. She had asked for that before she died. At the height of the pestilence, when hundreds were dying every day, most of the bodies were hauled to the outskirts and burned. Dying towns were ringed by the constantly smoldering bonfires of the dead. He told me to stay with Sammy, who'd gone zombie-like on us, shuffling around, mouth hanging open or sucking his thumb like he was two again, with his blankness and his teddy bear eyes. Just a few months ago, Mom was pushing him on a swing, taking him to karate classes, washing his hair, dancing with him to his favorite song. Now she was wrapped in a white sheet and riding on his daddy's shoulder into the backyard. I saw Dad through the kitchen window, kneeling by the shallow grave. His head was down, shoulders jerking. I'd never seen him lose it, not once since the arrival. Things kept getting worse, and just when you thought they couldn't get any worse, they got even worse. But Dad never freaked. Even when Mom started showing the first signs of infection, he stayed calm, especially in front of her. He didn't talk about what was happening outside the barricaded doors and windows. He laid wet cloths over her forehead. He bathed her, changed her, fed her. Not once did I see him cry in front of her. While some people were shooting themselves and hanging themselves and swallowing handfuls of pills and jumping from high places, Dad pushed back against the darkness. He sang to her and repeated stupid jokes she'd heard 1,000 times, and he lied. He lied the way a parent lies to you, the good lie that helps you go to sleep. Heard another plane today. Sounded like a fighter. Means some of our stuff must have made it through. Your fever's down a bit, and your eyes look clearer today. Maybe this isn't it. Might just be your garden variety flu. In the final hours, wiping away her bloody tears. Holding her while she barfed up the black viral stew in her stomach had begun. Bringing me and Sammy into the room to say goodbye. It's all right, she told Sammy. Everything is going to be all right. To me, she said, he needs you now, Cassie. Take care of him. Take care of your father. I told her she was going to get better. Some people did. They got sick, and then suddenly the virus let go. Nobody understood why. Maybe it decided it didn't like the way you tasted. And I didn't think she was going to get better to ease her fear. I really believed it. I had to believe it. You're all they have, Mom said, her last words to me. The mind was the last thing to go, washed away in the red waters of the tsunami. The virus took total control. Some people went into a frenzy as it boiled their brains. They punched, clawed, kicked, bit, like the virus that needed us also hated us and couldn't wait to get rid of us. My mother looked at my dad and didn't know him, didn't know where she was, who she was, what was happening to her. There was this, permanent creepy smile, cracked lips pulled back from bleeding gums, her teeth stained with blood. Sounds came out of her mouth. They weren't words. Place in her brain that made words was packed with virus, and virus didn't know language. It only knew how to make more of itself. And then my mother died in a fury of jerks and gargled screams, her invited guests rocketing out of every orifice because she was done. They'd used her up. Time to turn off the lights and find a new home. Dad bathed her one last time, combed her hair, scrubbed the dried blood from her teeth. When he came to tell me she was gone, he was calm. He didn't lose it. He held me while I lost it. Now I was watching him through the kitchen window, kneeling beside her in the rose bed, thinking no one could see him. My father let go of the rope he had been clinging to, loosened the line that kept him steady all that time while everyone around him went into free fall. I made sure Sammy was okay and went outside. I sat next to him, put my hand on his shoulder. The last time I'd touched my father, it was a lot harder and with my fist. I didn't say anything, and he didn't either. Not for a long time. He slipped something into my hand, Mom's wedding ring. He said she wanted me to have it. We're leaving, Cassie. Tomorrow morning. I nodded. I knew she was the only reason we hadn't left yet. The delicate stems on the roses bobbed and swayed as if echoing my nod. Where are we going? Away. He looked around, and his eyes were wide and frightened. It isn't safe anymore. Duh, I thought. When was it ever? Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is just over 100 miles from here. If we push and the weather stays good, we can be there in 5 or 6 days. And then what? The others had conditioned us to think this way. Okay, this, and then what? I looked to my father to tell me. He was the smartest man I knew. If he didn't have an answer, there was no one who did. I sure didn't, and I sure wanted him to. I needed him to. He shook his head like he didn't understand the question. What's at Wright-Patterson? I asked. I don't know that anything's there. He tried out a smile and grimaced, like smiling hurt. Then why are we going? Because we can't stay here, he said through gritted teeth. And if we can't stay here, we have to go somewhere if there's anything like a government left at all. He shook his head. He hadn't come outside of this. He had come outside to bury his wife. Go inside, Cassie. I'll help you. I don't need your help. She's my mother. I loved her too. Please let me help. I was crying again. He didn't see. He wasn't looking at me, and he wasn't looking at Mom. He wasn't looking at anything, really. There was, like, this black hole where the world used to be, and we were both falling toward it. What could we hold on to? I pulled his hand off Mom's body and pressed it against my cheek and told him I loved him, that Mom loved him, and that everything would be okay. And the black hole lost a little of its strength. Go inside, Cassie, he said gently. Sammy needs you more than she does. I went inside. Sammy was sitting on the floor in his room, playing with his X-Wing and Starfighter, destroying the Death Star. Shroom, shroom. I'm going in, Red One. And outside, my father knelt in the freshly returned earth. Brown dirt, red rose, gray sky, white sheet.
Oofies. Ouch.
Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah, that really sucks. Must have been really rough for Cassie. Especially Sammy later on when he found out that she died.
Hmm.
And in which Cassie talks about Sammy in the next chapter. I guess I have to talk about Sammy now. I don't know how else to get there. There being that first inch in the open where the sunlight kissed my scraped up cheek when I slid out from under the Buick. That first inch was the hardest, the longest inch in the universe, the inch that stretched 1,000 miles. There, being that place on the highway where I turned to face the enemy I couldn't see. There, being the one thing that kept me from going completely crazy, the thing the others haven't been able to take from me after taking everything from me. Sammy is the reason I didn't give up, why I didn't stay beneath that car and wait for the end. The last time I saw him was through the black window of a school bus, his forehead pressing against the glass, waving at me and smiling like he was going on a field trip, excited, nervous, and not scared at all. Being with all those other kids helped. and the school bus, which was so normal. What's more everyday than a big yellow school bus? So ordinary, in fact, that the sight of them pulling into the refugee camp after the last 4 months of horror was shocking. It was like seeing a McDonald's on the moon. Totally weird and crazy, and something that just shouldn't be. We'd been in the camp only a couple of weeks. Of the 50 or so people there, ours was the only family. Everybody else was a widow, a widower, an orphan, the last one standing in their family, strangers before coming to the camp. The oldest was probably in his 60s. Sammy was the youngest, but there were 7 other kids, none except me, older than 14. The camp lay 20 miles east of where we lived, hacked out of the woods during the third wave to build a field hospital after the ones in town had reached full capacity. The buildings were slapped together, made out of hand-sawed lumber and salvaged tin, one main ward for the infected and a smaller shack for the 2 doctors who tended the dying before they too were sucked down by the red tsunami. There was a summer garden and a system that captured rainwater for washing and bathing and drinking. We ate and slept in the big building. Between 500 and 600 people had bled out in there, but the floor and walls had been bleached and the cots they died on had been burned. It still smelled faintly of the pestilence, a little like soured milk, and the bleach hadn't removed all the blood stains. There were patterns of tiny spots covering the walls and long sickle-shaped stains on the floor. It was like having a 3D abstract painting. The shack was a combination storehouse and weapons cache. Canned vegetables, packaged meats, dried goods, and staples like salt, shotguns, pistols, semi-automatics, even a couple of flare guns. Every man walked around armed to the teeth. It was the Wild West all over again. A shallow pit had been dug a few hundred yards into the woods behind the compound. The pit was for burning bodies. We weren't allowed to go back there, so of course me and some of the older kids did. There was this one creep they named Crisco, I guess because of his long, greased black back hair. Crisco was 13 and a trophy hunter. He'd actually wade into the ashes to scavenge for jewelry and coins and anything else he might find valuable or interesting. He swore he didn't do it because he was a sicko. This is the difference now, he would say, chortling, sorting through his latest haul with crud-encrusted fingernails, his hands gloved in the gray dust of human remains. The difference between what? Between being the man or not. The barter system is back, baby, holding up a diamond necklace. When it's all over, except for the shouting, the people with the good stuff are going to call the shots. The idea that they wanted to kill all of us still wasn't something that had occurred to anyone, even the adults. Crisco saw himself as one of the Native Americans who sold Manhattan for a handful of beads, not as a dodo bird, which was a lot closer to the truth. Dad had heard about the camp a few weeks back when Mom started showing early symptoms of the pestilence. He tried to get Mom to go, but she knew there was nothing anyone could do. If she was going to die, she wanted to do it in her own home, not in some bogus hospice in the middle of the woods. Then later, as she was entering the final hours, the rumor came around that the hospital had been turned into a rendezvous point, a kind of survivor safe house, far enough from town to be reasonably safe in the next wave, whatever that was going to be, though the smart money was on some kind of aerial bombardment, but close enough for the people in charge to find when they had come to rescue us. If there were people in charge, and if they came, The unofficial boss of the camp was a retired Marine named Hutchfield. He was a human Lego person. Square hands, square head, square jaw. Wore the same muscle tee every day, stained with something that might have been blood. Through his black boots, always sported a mirror finish. He shaved his head, though not his chest or back, which he really should have considered. He was covered in tattoos, and he liked guns. 2 on his hip, 1 tucked behind his back, another slung over his shoulder. No one carried more guns than Hutchfield. Maybe that had something to do with his being the unofficial boss. Sentries had spotted us coming, and when we reached the dirt road that led into the woods to the camp, Hutchfield was there with another guy named Brogdon. I'm pretty sure we were supposed to notice the firepower draped all over their bodies. Hutchfield ordered us to split up. He was going to talk to Dad. Brogdon got me and Sam's. I told Hutchfield what I thought about that idea, like where exactly on his tattooed behind he could stick it. I just lost 1 parent. I wasn't too keen on the idea of losing another. It's all right, Cassie, my father said. You don't know these guys, I argued with him. They could be just another bunch of twigs, Dad. Twigs was street for thugs with guns. The murderers, rapists, black marketers, kidnappers, and just your general punks who showed up midway through the 3rd wave. The reason people barricaded their houses and stockpiled food and weapons. It wasn't the aliens that first made us gear up for war. It was our fellow humans. They're just being careful, Dad argued back. I do the same thing in their position, he patted me. I was like, damn it, old man. If you give me that GD condescending little pat 1 more time, it'll be fine, Cassie. He went off with Hutchfield. Out of earshot, but still in sight. That made me feel a little better. I hauled Sammy onto my hip and did my best to answer Brogdon's questions without popping him with my free hand. What were our names? Where were we from? Was anyone in our party infected? Was there anything we could tell him about what was going on? What had we seen? What had we heard? Why were we here? You mean here at this camp? Or are you being existential? I asked. His eyebrows drew together in a single harsh line, and he said, Huh? If you asked me that before all this shit happened, I'd have said something like, we're here to serve our fellow man or contribute to society. If I wanted to be a smartass, I'd say because if we weren't here, we'd be somewhere else. But since all this shit has happened, I'm going to say it's because we're just dumb lucky. He squinted at me for a second before saying snarkily, You are a smartass. I don't know how Dad answered that question, but apparently it passed inspection because we were allowed into camp with our full privileges, which meant Dad, not me though, was allowed to have his pick of weapons from the cache. Dad had a thing about guns, never liked them, said guns might not kill people, but they sure made it easier. Now he didn't think they were dangerous so much as he thought they were ridiculously lame. How effective do you think our guns are going to be against a technology thousands, if not millions, of years ahead of ours? He asked Hutchfield. It's like using a club and stones against a tactical missile. The argument was lost on Hutchfield. He was a Marine, for God's sake. His rifle was his best friend, his most trusted companion, the answer to every possible question. I didn't get that back then. I get it now. So, back into the past again, since Cassie had nowhere to go, since she was still very badly wounded. And it seems like the family arrived in a refugee camp. Yep, with a military guy as the person in charge.
Yeah, that won't ever go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong having somebody who was a former military watch over you as their leader?
Many
Of
things could go
external
wrong.
authority.
Many things could go wrong with that.
Yeah. Especially under an apocalyptic situation in which there's the Red Death and
Give me your money, motherfucker. That's all that he has to say.
yeah.
Oh, here's the
Lies,
criminal starter
motherfucker.
pack. Give me your money, motherfucker. I wonder why Cassidy doesn't have a problem with that. Or did she have a problem with that? That's what it sounded somewhat. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's
I wasn't really listening. Fuck, I'm stupid. Shoot me.
and there's Crisco, that creep.
Crisco.
Yeah.
Give me your money.
Precious.
Precious. Why, my precious? Oh,
Holy crap.
God.
precious. Precious. Sounds very niggerish. Niggers 2000. What would I do in an apocalyptic situation? And just shoot everyone else. Fuck it.
I don't know. I don't know what I'd do.
No, I said I would just shoot everyone else. Fuck it.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know what I would do.
Shoot everyone else. Fuck it. Just shoot everyone.
No,
Fuck
don't
it.
shoot Big Sister.
I just thought of a really dark joke.
Oh no.
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 Hey, Prim, what would you do in this sort of situation the book is describing?
Well, in my case, I would try to figure out what sort of people that would like it would attack. Because if if they were attacking the native peoples along with the ones that had higher technology, well, in that case, I probably would say we're pretty much screwed, and we would and in this case, we'd have to go underground and try to grow our food.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least gather it from the surface very carefully and then bring it underground.
If there was aliens, I'd try and figure out how to become a Sith Lord and fight back.
Yeah, there we go.
Lord of the Sith.
Yeah, me, I'm more of a with somebody
Use
that's
lightning
that
on them.
highly advanced, it's better to have your enemy not realize that you're underneath them. To basically make it appear as though you
I don't want to die a virgin!
Yeah, and the best way to not die a virgin is for your enemy to not know you are there at all.
How about you, Roppy? What would you do?
That would be something I'd say to an older teenager if I was 12 years old. 12-year-old Revan says something stupid.
Roppy, you still there?
Awkward silence.
Doesn't sound like they are.
Anyway, yeah, that's something that my younger 12-year-old self would say to an older teenager, something like that. You don't want to die a virgin, do you? Or something. To a teenager, I'd say that to because when I was 12, I hanged around with teenagers a lot. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just joking.
Okay, I guess everyone's ready for the next one.
I'm ready for niggers to start showing up and start.
Oh.
I want niggers to show up and start running around stealing everything. Ooga booga. Saying ooga booga. Ooga booga, give me your money. Oh my god. What the fuck is wrong with me? Or am I just goofy and perfect?
Goofy. That's part of it.
Praise Allah, I am autistic.
Well, chapter 13.
Chapter nigger.
No, 13.
Nigger.
Stop that.
Never. This is what you get for sending me to my room last night.
It was a joke, bro. It was a prank.
I know, I'm playing along.
Alright. Chapter 13. In good weather, everyone stayed outside until it was time to go to bed. That ramshackle building had a bad vibe because of why it was built, why it existed, what had brought it and us into these woods. Some nights the mood was light, almost like a summer camp, where by some miracle everybody liked one another. Someone would say they heard the sound of a helicopter that afternoon, which would set off a round of hopeful speculation that the people in charge were getting their acts together and preparing for the counterpunch. Other times the mood was darker and angst was heavy in the twilight air. We were the lucky ones. We survived the EMP attack, the obliteration of the coasts, the plague that wasted everyone we knew and loved.
I thought she said the NPC attack. Then again, that's probably what
NPC attack. Oh my god, the NPCs.
Then again,
EMP.
then again, my theory for this entire book is that she's just delusional and just after watching CNN. It's bring up CNN after all.
Oh, well, okay. Here, then I know who the enemy is. Then I know who the enemy is if she's watched too much CNN. I know who the enemy is.
Yeah.
Guess who? Guess who? No, it's an alien version of Donald Trump. Orange alien bad. Cheeto alien bad.
We survived the EMP attack, the obliteration of the coasts, plague that wasted everyone we knew and loved. We beaten the odds. We stared into the face of death, and death blinked first. You'd think that would make us feel brave and invincible. It didn't. We were like the Japanese who survived the initial blast of the Hiroshima bomb. We didn't understand why we were still here, and we weren't completely sure we wanted to be. We told the stories of our lives before the arrival. We cried openly over the ones we lost. We wept secretly for our smartphones, our cars, our microwave ovens, and the internet. We watched the night sky. The mothership would stare down at us, a pale green, malevolent eye. There were debates about where we should go. It was pretty much understood we couldn't squat in these woods indefinitely. Even if the others weren't coming anytime soon, winter was. We had to find better shelter. We had several months' worth of supplies, or less, depending on how many more refugees wandered into camp. Did we wait for rescue or hit the? Did we wait for rescue or hit the road to find it? Dad was all for the latter. He still wanted to check out Wright-Patterson. If there were people in charge, the odds were a lot better we'd find them there. I got sick of it after a while. Talking about the problem had replaced actually doing something about it. I was ready to tell Dad we should tell these douchebags to stuff it, take off for Wright Patterson with whoever wanted to go with us, and screw the rest. Sometimes, I thought, strength in numbers was a highly overrated concept. I brought Sammy inside and put him to bed, said his prayer with him. Now I lay me down to sleep. To me, just random noise, gibberish. I wasn't sure exactly what it was, but I felt that when it came to God, there was a broken promise in there somewhere. It was a clear night. The moon was full. I felt comfortable enough to take a walk in the woods. Somebody in camp had picked up a guitar. The melody skipped along the trail, following me into the woods. It was the first music I'd heard since the first wave. And in the end, we lie awake and we dream of making our escape. Suddenly, I just wanted to curl into a little ball and cry. I wanted to take off through those woods and keep running until my legs fell off. I wanted to puke. I wanted to scream until my throat bled. I wanted to see my mother again, Elizabeth, and all my friends, even the friends I didn't like, and Ben Parrish, just to tell him I loved him and wanted to have his baby more than I wanted to live. The song faded, was drowned out by the definitely less melodic song of crickets. A twig snapped, and a voice came out of the woods behind me. Cassie, wait up! I kept walking. I recognized that voice. Maybe I jinxed myself, thinking about Ben, like when you're craving chocolate and the only thing in your backpack is a half-crushed bag of Skittles. Cassie! Now he was running. I didn't feel like running, so I let him catch up to me. That was one thing that hadn't changed. The one sure way of not being alone was wanting to be alone. What you doing? Crisco asked. He was
I knew it was
hard for air. Bright red cheeks, shiny temples, maybe from all the hair grease. Isn't it obvious? I shot back. I'm building a nuclear device to take out the mothership. Nukes won't do it, he said, squaring his shoulders. We should build Fermi's steam cannon. Fermi? The guy who invented the bomb. I thought it was Oppenheimer. He seemed impressed I knew something about history. Well, maybe he didn't invent it, but he was the godfather. Crisco, you're a freak, I said. It sounded harsh, so I added, but I didn't know you before the invasion. You dig this big hole, put a warhead at the bottom, fill the hole with water, and cap it off with a few tons of steel. The explosion turns the water instantly to steam, which shoots the steel into space 6 times the speed of sound. Yeah, I said, somebody should definitely do that. Is that why you're stalking me? You want me to help you build a nuclear steam cannon? Can I ask you something? No. I'm serious. So am I. If you had 20 minutes to live, what would you do? I don't know, I answered, but it wouldn't have anything to do with you. How come? He didn't wait for an answer. He probably figured it wasn't something he wanted to hear. What if I was the last person on Earth? If you were the last person on Earth, I wouldn't be here to do anything with you. Okay, what if we were the last 2 people on Earth? Then you'd still end up being the last because I killed myself. You don't like me. Really, Crisco? What was your first clue? Say we saw them right there, right now, coming down to finish us off. What would you do? I don't know. Ask them to kill you first. What's the point, Crisco? Are you a virgin? He asked suddenly. I stared at him. He was totally serious. Most 13-year-old boys are when it comes to hormonal issues. Screw you, I said, and brushed past him, heading back toward the camp. Bad choice of words. He trotted after me, and not one strand of plastered down hair moved as he ran. It was like a shiny black helmet. I'm serious, Cassie, he puffed. These are the times when any night could be your last night. Dork, it was that way before they came, too. He grabbed my wrist, tugged me around, pushed his wide, greasy face close to mine. I had an inch on him, but he had 20 pounds on me. Do you really want to die without knowing what it's like? How do you know I don't? I said, yanking free. Don't ever touch me again, changing the subject. Nobody's gonna know, he said. I won't tell anyone. He tried to grab me again, slapped his hand away with my left and popped him hard in the nose with the open palm of my right. It opened up a faucet of bright red blood. It ran into his mouth and he gagged. Bitch, he gasped. At least you've got someone. At least everybody you ever freaking knew in your life isn't dead. He busted out in tears, fell onto the path and gave into it. The bigness of it, the big Buick that's parked over you, the horrible feeling that, as bad as it's been, it's going to get worse. Crap. I sat on the path next to him, told him to lean his head back. He complained that made the blood run down his throat. Don't tell anybody, he begged. I'll lose my cred. I laughed. I couldn't help it. Where'd you learn to do that? He asked. Girl Scouts. There's badges for that? There's badges for everything. Actually, it was 7 years of karate classes. I dropped karate last year. Don't remember my reasons now. They seemed like good ones at the time. I'm one too, he said. What? He spat a what of blood and mucus into the dirt. A virgin? What a shock. What makes you think I'm a virgin? I asked. You wouldn't have hit me if you weren't.
Yeah. I don't like that guy.
Crisco?
Yeah.
You like that creep?
No, I said I don't.
I don't.
What a weirdo. Jeez.
Yeah.
Two retards out in the forest. What happens? One gets slapped.
Totally bitch slapped in the face. So hard that his nose bleeds.
Yeah, that's the way to be, actually.
He's only 13 years old and he's a creep? Oh, jeez.
Well, yeah.
It's more creepier than most. I mean, a lot of the. Then again, I went to school with some very dirty boys. Ugh. I'm pretty sure most of the boys I went to high school with end up becoming rapists later on, or male feminists.
The fuck?
Or male feminists.
Why you say that?
Because they were fucked up. That's why.
You can't tell if someone's a rapist by appearance.
No, I said the way they behaved.
Oh, okay. Right, the way they behaved, yeah.
They probably became female feminists to get away with it, or male feminists to get away with it. Yeah, that's it. I'm betting it. I'm betting 10 fiat dollars on it.
That's quite the betting thing. That's quite betting. Wow. I'm betting 12 niggers on that. There you
go.
Actually, I bet 10 bitcoins, which I do not have. I'm pretty sure I would end up getting those bitcoins. That's why.
Well, you guys, a male feminist, he's totally okay there, bro. Gay ass bastard. Oh my gosh, my friend is my right-hand lady is life. Right, yep. My life, all the things that happened to me in the past have changed me. Freak. I would never say that back in when I was friggin' 15.
Let's see.
Later on, I need help with some of my art if anyone wants to help.
Okay, how about one more? It's a short one.
Okay.
And then we could end the stream.
Yay.
Final words. And then
gay ass niggers don't help. There you go.
No, it's not the end of the stream yet.
Oh, okay. Take that back. I'll say it later. Gay ass niggers don't help. Okay, there you go.
All right.
Reverse. I don't know. Fuck me.
All right. Last chapter for now. Number 14. On our sixth day in camp, I saw a drone for the first time. Glittering gray in the bright afternoon sky. There was a lot of shouting and running around, people grabbing guns, waving their hats and shirts, or just spazzing in general, crying, jumping, hugging, high-fiving one another. They thought they were rescued. Hutchfield and Brogan tried to calm everybody down, but they weren't very successful. The drone zipped across the sky, disappeared behind the trees, and then came back, slower this time. From the ground, it looked like a blimp. Hutchfield and Dad huddled in the doorway of the barracks, watching it, swapping a pair of binoculars back and forth. No wings, no markings. And did you see that first pass? Mach 2, at least. Unless we've launched some kind of classified aircraft, no way this thing is terrestrial. As he spoke, Hutchfield was popping his fist up and down in the dirt, beating out a rhythm to match the words. Dad agreed. We were herded into the barracks. Dad and Hutchfield covered in the doorway, still swapping the binoculars back and forth. Is it the aliens? Sammy asked. Are they coming, Cassie? Shh. I looked over and saw Crisco watching me. 20 minutes, he mouthed. If they come, I'm going to beat them up, Sammy whispered. I'm going to karate kick them. I'm going to kill them all. That's right, I said, nervously running my hand over his hair. I'm not going to run, he said. I'm going to kill them for killing Mommy. The drone vanished, straight up. Dad told me later, if you blinked, you missed it. We reacted to the drone the way anyone would react. We freaked. Some people ran, grabbed whatever they could carry, and raced into the woods. Some just took off with the clothes on their backs and the fear in their guts. Nothing Hutchfield said could stop them. The rest of us huddled in the barracks until night came on. Then we took the freak-out party to the next level. Had they spotted us? Were the stormtroopers or clone army or robot walkers next?
References in your story.
No,
don't leave pop culture references like that in your story. It's not that this is bad or anything. It's just still.
I would say I want to fire off Force Lightning at them. There you
go. Were we about to be fried by laser cannons? It was pitch black. We couldn't see a foot in front of our noses because we didn't dare light the kerosene lamps. Frantic whispers, muffled crying, huddled on our cots, jumping at every little sound. Hutchfield assigned the best marksman to the night watch. If it moved, shoot it. No one was allowed outside without permission, and Hutchfield never gave permission. That night lasted 1,000 years. Dad came up to me in the dark and pressed something into my hands. A loaded semi-automatic Luger. You don't believe in guns, I whispered. I used to not believe in a lot of things. A lady started to recite the Lord's Prayer. We called her Mother Teresa. Big legs, skinny arms, faded blue dress, wispy gray hair. Somewhere along the way, she had lost her dentures. She was always working her beads and talking to Jesus. A few others joined her, then some more. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. At which point her arch-nemesis, the sole atheist in Camp Ashpit's foxhole, a college professor named Dawkins, shouted out, particularly those of extraterrestrial origin. You're going to hell, a voice yelled at him at the dark. How will I know the difference? Dawkins hollered back. Quiet! Hutchfield called softly from his spot in the doorway. Stow that praying, people. His judgment has come upon us, Mother Teresa wailed. Sammy scooted closer to me on the cot. I shoved the gun between my legs. I was afraid he might grab it and accidentally blow my head off. Shut up, all of you, I said. You're scaring my brother. I'm not scared, Sammy said, his little fist twisting in my shirt. Are you scared, Cassie? Yes, I said. I kissed the top of his head. His hair smelled a little sour. I decided to wash it in the morning, if we were still there in the morning. No, you're not, he said. You're never scared. I'm so scared right now I could pee my pants. He giggled. His face felt warm in the crook of my arm. Did he have a fever? That's how it starts. I told myself I was paranoid. He'd been exposed 100 times, and the red tsunami roars in fast once you're exposed, unless you have immunity. And Sammy had to have it. If he didn't, he'd already be dead. You better put on a diaper, he teased me. Maybe I will. Though I walked through the valley of the shadow of death, she wasn't going to stop. I could hear her beads clicking in the dark. Dawkins was humming loudly to drown her out. 3 blind mice. I couldn't decide who was more annoying, the fanatic or the cynic. Mommy said they might be angels, Sammy said suddenly. Who? I asked. Aliens. When they first came, I asked if they came to kill us, and she said maybe they weren't aliens at all. Maybe they were angels from heaven, like in the Bible when the angels talked to Abraham and to Mary and to Jesus and everybody. They sure talked a lot more to us back then, I said. But then they did kill us. They killed Mommy. He started to cry. Thou prepared a table for me in the presence of my enemies. I kissed the top of his head and rubbed his arms. Thou anointed my head with oil. Cassie, does God hate us? No, I don't know. Does he hate Mommy? Of course not. Mommy was a good person. Then why did he let her die? I shook my head. I felt heavy all over, like I weighed 20,000 tons. My cup runneth over. Why did he let the aliens come and kill us? Why doesn't God stop them? Maybe, I whispered slowly. Even my tongue felt heavy. Maybe he will. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. Don't let them get me, Cassie. Don't let me die. You're not going to die, Sams. Promise? I promised.
Uh-oh.
Hmm?
I said, uh-oh, that can't be
Hmm.
good.
Sounds niggerish. Okay. I'm sorry I had to say that again.
Of course you did.
Yeah, of course.
The
I think it's a
fuck? What is wrong with me?
Time to stop.
Praise all.
Time to stop for this week and continue for next Monday night.
Praise Allah.
Yeah, so final words or thoughts?
Niggers are gay. Come on, right wing watch. Straw man me, boy. Come on, I'm helping you. Take me out of context, please.
I doubt he's watching the stream.
There's time for him to watch it.
I try to friggin' get strawman here, or not strawman. Fuck no, take it out of context. Fuck.
So, Crow, what were you gonna say?
I have nothing. I don't have anything to say really.
Nah.
Except
Praise
Poofies.
Allah.
Does anyone else agree on my fan theory that that she's just delusional and after watching too much CNN?
Maybe. It is a possibility.
Hey, after all the crap I have to
How
go
much
through with
CNN?
after all the crap I have to go through with my mom, it wouldn't shock me.
Oh my god, you're turning into a white supremacist. Really?
I know. It's like literally, I like anything. Literally anything I say, I'm interested in now. She's like, "Hey, you are you a white supremacist?"
Jeez.
No. I'm a spooky, scary alt-writer.
No, I'm a spooky, scary anarchist. Get it right.
Yeah.
Oh no, but you gotta tease her though. You gotta say spooky. You gotta say spooky, scary alt-writer. Ooh.
No. Well,
Why?
might be an
Oh, all right, fine. Say anarchist, fine.
Be spooked by my anarchism. Yeah, but then they can call the cops and tell them, "Oh, your daddy's an anarchist."
Can you actually get arrested for that?
Probably soon.
Oh,
get to that
right.
point.
You're talking New York, so
Yeah, shit.
chances are you can.
Ugh, get me out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Run for your life, run! And what is a Tasmanian devil to cause such a fury? I think I said that wrong. Fuck. You don't want to die a virgin, do you? Okay. That would be something I'd say to an older teenager if I was 12 years old or something.
Yeah, I said that earlier.
I know, but I just can't. Well, there's probably someone going to take me out of context when saying that or something. Oh, God. Is it offline now or something?
No, just we're still doing final words and shout out.
I'm gonna run. Okay, here's my final words. I'm gonna run around with scissors. Thank you.
No.
What?
I'm gonna run around with scissors while having crack. I don't.
No.
No.
Any predictions on what you guys think will happen next in
Dude, calm down, please.
Yes,
oh my
please
God,
calm
I
down.
hurt myself. Oh my God, I'm such a dumbass, but it's fun to be one.
Oh my God. Since when are you a clown?
I know, Marel.
So, what are you guys' predictions for what's going to happen next in the book?
Donald Trump is going to jump out and say "Ooga Booga." There
you go. Possibly.
Or the alien version of Donald Trump.
Ooga Booga.
No, my mom will pop out and screech, "Hey, you're a white supremacist." Don't put it past her.
If you go, if your mom dares to even call the Inquisitors on you, I'll come over there and fucking beat the shit out of everyone.
Please do.
Oh, I have the capability to do it. I have a couple of shots.
Live where it's illegal.
She'll come up to me, "Hey, sir, this is a gun-free zone," and I'm just freaking fired a shotgun.
Yeah.
I just fucking kill him with her fucking shotgun. Oh God. One shot kill. Retard down. Send in the SWAT team, even though they'll probably get slaughtered as well. Oh God, here you go in the stream. Oh, violent anarchists on stream. Even when defending their fellow friends and all that stuff from a bunch of inquisitors. They're violent, you guys. They don't trust us, our inquisitors. Violent.
Like your children.
The Nazis had good intentions. They're not evil. They're not.
Of course, Robbie, he's joking around.
I'm joking, yes. It's obvious I have a sarcastic voice there, right, Ralph?
Well, thanks for coming by. Robbie, you got any final words at all? Are you still there?
Say something around niggers.
No, she's not. I doubt it.
Yeah.
Please, please. I beg of you.
Maybe she went to bed. I don't know.
Maybe.
I want
I
crack.
have to hear back from her later.
No.
I want to run around with scissors while having crack. Oh, big fuck.
No.
No.
Jeez.
No.
I know. It sounds so fun.
Ravage stab.
No, it sounds dangerous. Really dangerous.
But I want to be dangerous. I want to be scary and dangerous. Am I scary and dangerous?
I don't know.
I'm a scary and dangerous anarchist.
Don't be an anarchist, okay? If you're
Well,
an
don't be
anarchist,
Antifa.
don't
be
be
those
an
cucks.
anarchist. It's bad. Don't be an anarchist. It's bad. If you're an anarchist, you're bad.
If you're an anarchist, you're automatically here. There you go. Bingo.
Well, thanks to everyone who joined in. It was fun. And hoping to get the first part of the book done by next week. Most likely will, because there's not a whole bunch left until the next part and the point of view changes to someone else.
Oh, really?
All right. Well, good night, everyone in the stream. Good night, everyone in the YouTube chat. It was a lot of fun. Tune in for next Monday night.